Welcome to the Clinical Cookout. Hey now, it's your Auntie Ashley.
What's up? It's your girl, Auntie Shug.
Hey, it's your girl, Auntie Quiche.
Hey y'all, it's Auntie Amber.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. We are qualified clinicians who will cover various topics on mental health and will sometimes provide community resources. We are not being paid by any organization for our content, and any information we provide is general and pertains to our own personal experiences. We do not provide psychotherapy, diagnoses, or treatment recommendations on air. Any concerns related to your individual mental health should be directed to your medical and mental health professionals. We are not responsible for others' decisions or the subsequent consequences.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Clinical Cookout, and we are about to bring y'all our hot sauce, and it is, not even just for parents. This is something that everybody has an opinion on, I am quite sure. So I was on the TikToks, the little clock app, and I came across a clip on another podcast in which a woman was saying her son was invited to a birthday party, and it just so happened to be all girls. And the girls opted to polish their nails. Now, these are all younger children. I believe her son is like maybe 5 or 6. He might be a little older. But either way, girls were polishing their nails, and he asked his mom, can I polish my nails too? And she was like, she said, I just felt like, whoa. She said, and then all the other Black parents in the room were staring at her as if to say, now, sis, I know you ain't about to let this boy polish his nails. And she said another man there, a dad, I'm assuming, was like, oh, it's your son must be gay. And she got upset, like polishing nails has nothing to do with being gay. So what do we think about placing traditional gender roles or expectations on children? Do we let them be expressive, or do we tell them this is what boys do, this is what girls do? I can't wait to answer. I'm not answering because I asked the question. I'm holding mine.
Look, I'm all for freedom of self-expression with kids, because when you restrict them from expressing themselves, then you have some negative stuff that happens on the other end. I also just have like very fluid views on traditional gender roles, because like it's always kind of crossed over. Like you have girls who like to play in the dirt, who don't want to play with Barbie dolls. They want to play with cars and trucks and stuff. You called them tomboys back in the day, and that was okay, right? But it's not okay the other way around. So if the boy want to paint his nails, I don't see a problem with it. My husband would have different views when it comes to our son, but I really don't see a problem with it. Because if he's gay, he's gay. If he ain't, he ain't. Letting him paint his nails or not ain't gonna change it.
I have different thoughts on that. I don't think you can make somebody gay, but I also I don't mind traditional roles. I don't mind traditional gender roles. I don't want to be with a man who's polishing his nails, and I don't want my sons polishing their nails. But that's me. So one of the reasons why is because, number one, Black people have it hard enough. And if you are not you know what I mean, if you're not a gay male or you're not more flamboyant, then my thing would be why. But those are my views. A lot of people don't like that because they think, oh, well, you can't make somebody gay. You can't make somebody gay and you can't make somebody straight. However, I think like when it comes to socially acceptable things, I don't know. I just feel like why make things, I can't even say why make things harder, because it's not making things harder. It's just a no for me.
So I did stitch that video, or I did talk about that. I didn't stitch it, but I did talk about it on my TikTok. And so because I have a nephew, I want him to respect and love women and the things that they get into. And that doesn't mean necessarily if you don't let your boys paint their nails that they're going to disrespect women. No, but I'm coming to understand that working in the school, watching boys pick on girls just for being girls and anything associated to girls. And I'm only saying that because nail polish is normally associated to girls. It causes some sort of like, ew, you're wearing nail polish, ew, this, ew, I can't touch that because it's girl things. So I always come from the perspective of what if we looked at this differently? And this is where a man ended up commenting on my TikTok. And I said, what if colors was a way to help him be a designer? What if he was the next person who designed the NBA jerseys? What if he designed the next NFL jerseys? Why are colors all of a sudden something that's, you know, something that should be blown over the top when we teach kids their colors? And if, you know, he's interested in, you know, thinking outside the box, I'm going to be all for that. And I said, and I just gave it a different perspective. Like colors don't have to be associated to nail polish. It could go further than that. And I want to make sure that I don't ever, you know, stop any boy from exploring that, because he could be our next designer. He could design a dress for Michelle Obama or whoever, because he's using that exploration at that time to discover who he is and discover what he likes. And he may not like it after a while. He may then associate to the boys in his, you know, group and be like, okay, this was a phase I went through. I liked it then, but I kind of like what the boys are doing around me. I like doing that stuff. Same thing. It's the same conversation when it comes to boys doing hair. Listen, the coldest hairstylists I know are boys, are men.
Yes.
So it's the same thing with cooking. Men have issues with boys learning how to cook. And the coldest people I know on TikTok are male chefs. So I'm never going to limit somebody's ability to get the coin. And if that means in untraditional ways, then that's what it means. Because trust and believe, your girl would be a stripper if she could, if this body was right. Okay? I'm not traditional. So
We
I'm
always, we always come back to the strip club. All right. So I too, like Auntie Keish, made a TikTok about this particular subject matter. And I went from a different angle than Auntie Keish, but I'm with Auntie Keish, and I'm also with Auntie Amber I'm not super traditional in that way. Now, there are some things I'm traditional about, but very few. When it comes to this, my biggest problem is how we sexualize everything. Nail polish doesn't even have to be sexualized. A color doesn't have to be sexualized. Like girls pink, boys blue. We just sexualize the color. So now a boy will get older. My son right now got a pink pair of polo shorts, but he's comfortable in those and he liked them and they were in the boy section. But for another boy, well, people, pink is for girls. And it's like, it's a color. Like Auntie Key said, why did we just sexualize a color? Because it has nothing to do really with men, women. It has to do with sexualization. It has to do with, are you gay? Especially when it comes to boys. That's why, like Auntie Amber said, girls used to be able to play in the dirt, climb trees, do all that. She was just a tomboy. That's it. Didn't mean she was gay. She was just a tomboy. But when boys do it, it can't mean anything other than is he a little, you know, like, why are we sexualizing children at all? If he wants to polish his nails, okay, it's nail polish. It comes off. If he wants to dye his hair, okay, it can wash out or he can get a haircut. Like, I just don't understand why we get so upset when, you know, kids say that they believe they're transgender or gay or whatever. We take that to the extreme, but then we sexualize the most minute, trivial things that don't even matter. I worked in a daycare and a dad came in livid because I was letting his son play in the toy kitchen. I'm like, do you cook at home, sir? Okay, then he can play in the kitchen. That's different. I'm cooking in a real kitchen. That's a toy kitchen. That's where the girl's supposed to play. Huh? Like, where do you think they learn it from? Children learn through play. So it has always bothered me when people place those type of roles and traditional stipulations on literal children, because you just don't even know what you're stifling, like Auntie Keith said.
Sometimes, see, what y'all did was y'all went around. Like, I was like, oh, sexualizing colors. That wasn't the original question. The original question was polishing nails. And I think
nails.
Yeah, it's not about colors with polishing nails. I think it's that the act is associated with being a female societally. So when I say no, my thing is because if I'm teaching, well, first of all, I have a husband. So men view this different than women view this. I can't teach a boy how to be a man. I can teach a boy how to be a great human being, but not how to be a man. I can teach my daughter womanhood. But when a man goes in to teach their son how to be a man, we want to stifle that in that man also. And so that's where I'm always coming from. So when my husband says, no, I don't want him polishing his nails, societally, did any one of y'all choose men that polish their nails? Pink, red, blue, or any other color?
I would.
I know you would.
Clear.
But I know you not.
A lot of shop with me. Granted, he don't do color, but I don't think that honestly wouldn't have bothered me.
Would,
That
you,
It's
wouldn't
that.
would this be different if now let me see. Would this be different if it's a male who goes to the nail shop and like get his like manicures? Doesn't have to be polished, but like you know what I
have-
mean? Is that the same or that different?
Elijah go to the nail
Self-
shop with me all the time.
self
No, I was just asking because I didn't know if
No,
it
there's
was
a difference in self-care, but when I'm talking about like little boys, like being like, because I seen like a little boy when I was a long time ago, and he was in the nail shop with his mother, and he was getting his toes and his nails pink and stuff like that, and like his mother was kind of fostering it, but then he didn't have his father around, and so then it's kind of like, no, you're not making him gay, but then there are other habits that are being instilled there. So for me, and this is for me, and I don't care who comes for me because I wear big draws, but for me, when it comes to teaching him the essence of being a man, not toxic masculinity, but being a man. It's not for me being like, hey, let you go and polish your nails. Now, will he probably want to do it? If he's that interested, I might do it and be like, okay, well, you know what? Now let's take it off. But just walking around with your nails polished, for me, it's a no. And I'm okay in standing in my no.
Now, I love that you brought up the essence of a man, because what is the essence of a man? For me, the
It's
essence of
subjective.
it's subjective. The essence of a man for me is confident. Whatever you gonna do, be comfortable in it. Be confident in it. Exude that. Like that. That's for me. To me, that has nothing to do. The essence of a man has nothing to do with nail polish. And then when we consider that gender is a construct and societal constructs change over time anyway. Like there was a time when wearing high heels was for men, and now that has changed to women. So because society changes things over time, I forgot. I mean, what we gonna do? Skinny jeans reserved for women. Now you got men in skinny jeans, and that ain't everybody's style.
And
But
that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, we're talking about constructs that change over time, but we're also talking about people that change over time that are still like, I still don't like that. I still don't like that. And then sex hormones are real. So when those hormones get released into our bodies, and they come from our brains, right? They get released. That is how you got gender constructs. That is how you got females might walk like this. And males might have the deeper voices. These things are real. We just turned them into what we wanted them to be. The way I look at a man's man is not going to be the way that you, Amber, Auntie Keish, it's not going to be the way that everybody looks at a man's man. That's why you have the alpha male. That's why you might have the men that are a little bit more metrosexual or a little bit more feminine. You get different men. If I'm looking at the kind of male that I would want, I don't want a man walking around with nail polish, and I don't care. My husband wears pink. It's not colors. It's I think the act of femininity for me. Everybody has their own subjectivity to it.
I think you're right in that sense that there's different types of men, and it's about what fits you personally and what that fits for your lifestyle. So I definitely agree with that. There are going to be women who want the manly man and want their boys to grow up to be like that. There are going to be women who's like, you know what? That's not really a big deal to me. I want my boy to be whoever he wants to be, or whatever he flourishes to be. And there will be those dudes who are more, cleaner, more on the metro side, like you said. And there are women who want that don't want the rugged dude, you know what I mean? That look like, they don't need that. So
Yeah.
I agree in that aspect that there's different ones. But it's to answer your question, Shook, you said we bounced around the question. Is it goes to painting your nails? For me, because my nephew was around a whole bunch of girls and his best friend is his girl cousin, if she did that and wanted him to be a part of that, I'd be like, okay, bub, go ahead and have fun. Do you like it? You don't like it? Okay, we can take it off. I wouldn't even make a big deal about it. I'd let him explore. If he don't like it, he going about his way. And I'll leave it as that.
Well, one of the things I wanted to comment on though was Auntie Shug, what she was saying about her husband being able to teach manhood, her being able to teach womanhood, and kind of tag teaming that. And I really appreciate that perspective. I think it's a good perspective. I do think that sometimes kids just say things because they see other people doing it, and it's not necessarily something that they actually want to do. Like your son sees other kids wearing nail polish or girls wearing nail polish. Oh, I want to try that out, and just saying it because they want to fit into the situation or whatever. And in that case, I can definitely see where Abe might be like, "No, we ain't doing that, right? Like that doesn't fit into what manhood looks like for me. And I'm not trying to speak for Abe, but I'm just giving an example. But yeah, and one of the things too is that, sometimes kids just say things, they just want to try things, that's cool. And then sometimes it becomes distressing for them. So if your kid asks, like, and I'm just using nail polish as an example, even though it's a stupid example, but I want to wear nail polish. No, that's not a man. I want to wear nail polish. No, that's not a man. And then this kid starts to become distressed. Like, I really feel like this is a way that I can express myself. And they start to kind of ruminate over it. Well, why won't my dad let me wear nail polish? Why won't my dad let me do this? Da, da, da. That's when it starts to become a problem. And maybe a conversation with your kid, like, hey, like, this is the reason why I'm not allowing you to do it at this time. Maybe at this time, when you can make better decisions for yourself or something like that, then you can consider doing something like this. So having conversations with your kids, communicating with them can be helpful. And this goes right into our main dish for today is, talking about children's mental health in general. What types of things distress your children and what kind of signs can you look for? What are some of the things that kids actually struggle with? Because they do struggle with stuff, y'all. Kids are people too. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into that.
So, okay, so now we're about to start our main dish. We're talking about children's mental health. I work with children, specifically 0 to 6, early intervention. I know Auntie Amber works with children, and I believe, Shug, you work with some children as well.
I work with all the kids.
Huh?
So I work with all the kids, and I think I might specialize.
Yep, she works with all the kids, and you have 3 mothers on here as well. So they also have life experiences working with children. And I know a lot of y'all or a lot of y'all understand that if you have children, there are things that you are going to notice about your child. And some of those things that we often want to talk about when we notice our children is when they're in distressing moments or when they have those distressing moments. And what do we do about it? So what I was saying, going into this was that a lot of times it's really hard for Black families to see their children outside of these strict constructs. And I've learned over time that childhood development is an exploratory phase. Your child is going to want to explore things. And there may be some things that aren't appropriate for them, but y'all can talk about this. And specifically, I like to use this book that I'm reading. It's called The Gardener and the Carpenter. So it's basically about how parents should see their children growing as gardens versus being carpenters. Because you know how carpenters are like really precise and they need every piece to fit the right way and it has to be the right measurement. Well, she was stating that with a gardener, you don't know, you plant the seed, but you don't know how it's going to grow out. It could grow anyway, any kind of way. You don't know. And so she wanted parents to look at the exploratory phase like that. So, and when you don't look at it like that, that brings us to mental health. So how do we explore that with our parents when it comes to children and mental health?
I love being a gardener. I think, now listen, let me thank you. Let me thank the Lord for some stuff. First of all, Isaac, my boy, since we were talking about like, nails and constructs and stuff like that.
That's my boy, for correction.
Okay, Keisha's child, because I don't never do nothing for him according to him, but trying to play me.
He didn't have to do you like that.
Listen, bro, you know what? I need to be a carpenter, but I do try to be a gardener because he doesn't have that. I want to wear nail polish things and stuff like that. He has sisters, so with him having sisters, he was always like, "Don't want to do that." If Izzy does that, I'm not doing that. I'm a boy. So with the way that he is already, I just cultivate that. The way that Izzy is already, I cultivate that. My girl likes to wear, first of all, she does not wear pants. She wears a dress and everything, or she wears like
she ain't lying. She learned to ride a bike in a dress. That girl
learned how to ride a bike in a dress. And I was not like that. I was what Amber called was a tomboy. Until I was like 25. But like, so she was always one that was like that. And so I just foster it. And people are like, well, how do you get a girl like that? And I'm just like, if that's how she is, I foster it. But I believe in guidance. I don't believe in let them do what they want. I think that's stupid. And I think it's irresponsible. And the reason why I think it's stupid and irresponsible, because kids don't know what's best for them. They would wake up and eat a blow pop for breakfast and not brush their teeth. And half of them don't want to take baths. So you have to have a little bit of guidance.
I thought
And
that was only my kids. Y'all
no,
kids
it's
don't like
not.
taking baths either?
No.
Asa tell me I took a bath on Tuesday and it's Friday. I'm like, sir,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I don't understand. I'm sorry, Shug. Go
No,
ahead.
because you get the people that are like, let them do what they want to do. And it's like, that's irresponsible because they don't know what's best for them. So you have to guide them and teach them, because you get kids that are irresponsible, and they're going to turn into irresponsible teenagers and therefore irresponsible adults. So you do have to be a gardener, but you do have to guide. You can't just be loosey goosey. Permissive parenting.
Yes,
I agree with that 100%. I love that perspective on guidance. I love the perspective on being a gardener. I do think that it is stressful when people try to put you in a box, whether you're a kid and an adult. I mean, just think about for us how that feels, being placed in this box and you're supposed to stay in it. You go outside of it, it's a problem, right? You feel really anxious, and sometimes you feel lonely, depressed, and all of that when you're stuck in that box. So allowing kids the freedom to explore new things, but also showing them the skill. How do you explore something new? So if my kid comes to me and she's like, I really want to get into art, right? That don't mean I just give you some paint and say, go for it. And you splattering art around the wall. Like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to get you into an art class. You're going to learn the skills first, and then I'll get you the materials. And if you're still interested, it can progress from there. So you're guiding your kid to exploring something new, but you're not just telling them like, nah, you don't need to do that. Like, that's not okay. And that applies to things aside from just like extracurriculars like that. But I do like the idea of allowing them that freedom, but also you kind of right there, kind of showing them the way to get to where they need to be.
Yeah.
I like that too. And even with a gardener tends to a garden. They take care of the garden. So that is the guidance. But they allow things to just grow and be, and make sure that it's, growing the I don't want to say the right way. I hate saying right or wrong, but I think for me with kids, especially when we talk about what kids are capable of, what they know, being guided, I think, yes, they need to be guided, but I also think we do not see children as human beings who have capabilities. Kids are not as unaware, especially in today's society. They are not as unaware as we think they are. They are not as dumb as some people think they are. They know a lot more than maybe kids from generations past. So I'm real big on, regardless of anything, why can't you just talk to kids? Talk to them sincerely and genuinely tell them to tell you whatever it is that's going on in their mind, or whatever questions they have. Like, open up that discussion with kids, especially if they are struggling with something. Like, talk to them like they are humans, not like I'm the parent, you're the child. What I say goes. Like, I get where that's necessary when we talk about discipline and correction, but that ain't supposed to be all the time if you're tending to a garden correctly.
How do you expect somebody to talk to somebody in that manner when they probably wasn't given the same treatment? How can we expect that from parents when they've been told to shut up their entire lives?
Yeah, true. It's a repeat pattern. Cycles continue. Until you're ready to break a cycle, it's going to continue. And my whole thing is, when you know better, you do better. So a lot of times, especially now in the age of social media, people are getting information on different ways to try things, especially as parents. And they just like, nah, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. Well, then you don't want things to change. You want cycles to repeat.
That's true. And I think when it comes to communicating with kids, if you ask your kid what's going on, how you feeling, and they give you some kind of off the wall answer, like, you got to know your kid good enough to look underneath what they're saying. Like, I've had kids tell me some crazy stuff. Like, one kid was telling me something about it sounds like a well is knocking on the wall or something. And what he was trying to say is, like, I can't sleep at night because my parents doing something, and I can hear, like, I can hear it. I can hear things going on. It wasn't a well. He used something else. And another kid said something about some knocking on the wall, and somebody thought the kid was like hearing things or having hallucinations when they're actually trying to say something else. So when you talk to your kid and you say, how are you doing? What are you thinking? And they give you an answer, you do kind of need to follow up on that. It's not good enough to say, yeah, I just asked them yesterday how they were. They said they were good. Like, no, you need to be asking more questions and really trying to understand what's going on with your kid.
Some people don't really want to know the answer, because sometimes the first thing that we ask, like when we do get kids, when I do get kids in my office, is, well, what might have been a source of trauma? And a lot of parents will say, oh, nothing. Everything's been fine. Everything's been fine. And they don't even think that there could be little things. There could be a fish that died and it's traumatic for a kid. There could be a dog that died. Your grandparent could have died. They could have looked at the way that you handle conflict. They could look at things between you and your husband. And, people think, oh, they don't see us arguing or it's not a big deal when kids are really big watchers. But I think the reason why some people do that is because if I look at what my kid is really thinking or what they really have on their brain that's causing them distress, it might start with me. And now I have to look at myself, my environment, and I might have to see what's going on in my household right in front of this kid's face. And I might not be ready to change that.
You
read me down?
Mike. You should have just dropped the mic on our ass.
We did. Episode over. We done.
I feel attacked. I feel attacked personally.
Episode over. Should drop the mic on our ass again. Episode over.
Oh my God.
No. That is not the truth. Parents do not understand that your child soaks up what's in the environment and they can sense or know when something is going on. They're not as dumb as you think they are. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you're right, Shug. I work with a lot of kids and parents will come in and be like, I don't know why my kid acting like this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they hitting. I don't know why they do. Yes. Well, sis, you just had a baby. And now all your attention is over here on this baby and not on your child again. Or you just got a new man in the house. Now all your attention is on this man and this child is like, wait a minute. It was just me and you for a second. And it's like they don't understand that their behavior can be the source of your child's trauma and stress.
And also parents don't understand that your child has half of your DNA and half of their other parents' DNA. So there are going to be things about them that are you. And you don't pick up on it you pick up on it because you see it in everybody else but you. That's me. My oldest daughter is so much like me, and that is why we have had struggle sometimes because we just alike. I'll ask her, I'll know something is wrong with her, and I'll say, what's going on? Tell me what's wrong. Nothing. And I do that same thing. I'm like, now I know something wrong with you. Why don't you just talk to me about it? Nothing is wrong. And I'm like, oh, my mother's like, she just like you. Parents don't pick up on how much their child is like them because we don't turn that mirror to ourselves. You mad because that's your child and that's you.
Or you mad because you got something going on that you don't want everybody to know about, and that child is putting your business out there because they acting out.
Kids will put business out.
Yeah, that's what it is.
With no hesitation.
Kids are honest and don't have a filter. And I firmly appreciate that. Like, I appreciate childlike honesty.
Yeah, but sometimes I'm just like, why you don't tell me that? Because some things you tell me, like, I have to go, through extra measures.
Right.
To don't tell me all this stuff.
Now I gotta go through the chain of command because
you want to tell me all your business at home.
Business.
Yeah. Now I gotta call DCFS.
Right.
But is that not what you want to know? Like you do.
Yes, I'm joking.
Yeah,
we joking around.
So here's the thing about that. You do want to know those things, but sometimes everything is not what they seem to be. Mm-hmm. So I got, I've seen kids and they are the culprit. But they some kids know how to manipulate, especially when they got some other disorders. When they have a dual diagnosis, and they are good at manipulation at a very early age, and you're probably looking at some conduct disorder, then they can say things like, my mother is beating me. And it could be nothing further from the truth. They could actually be beating the parent. But now you have to go through these extra measures because this kid reported. Because, we have to report things that are reportable. So we have to report abuse.
My supervisor was me not to say like manipulation. She was like, what need are they trying to meet?
She said connection, but your supervisor be tripping. And you know why she be tripping? Because I just talked about dual diagnosis, and I talked about a kid who's not craving connection, but who has some kids genuinely have problems that will not be fixed. And it's not rare, it's not often. Most times kids come into my office and I'm like, oh, I see the problem. We can work through it. We can work through it. I have come across some children where I'm just like, I understand how jail happens. Well, I'm going to say it like that. And there's not a connection when you are physically abusing your parent.
No. She said meeting a need. She's like, what need are they trying to meet? Not connection. She said just what need. And I used to say manipulation a lot. And she's like, no, what need are they trying to meet? And I was like, oh, I guess I didn't.
The need because for physical abuse.
So some kids do it on purpose. Like some kids do it on purpose. They recognize that if I do this, I get this need met. So I'm going to do this to whoever I can to get what I need. Then you have some kids who are not necessarily doing it on purpose, but their perception of the situation is flawed. So sometimes I had a recent situation, a therapy session with a family where, the kid had told the family that they felt a certain way about something. And the immediate response, it's a Black family, is, how do you feel like that? We ain't never made you feel like that. We did this. Right. We did this. Like, how do you feel unsafe? You have food on your back. You have, you have clothes on your back. You have food to eat. You have your own room. Your room is painted pink. Like, how do you feel unsafe? And so sometimes the kid's perception of the situation is their reality. And we kind of have to go with that sometimes to help them understand what's really happening in the situation and why they feel the way that they do. And parents have to be open to that. And they're not. They want to just automatically get defensive. I never did anything to make you feel that way. You might not have, but your kid took it that way. And so that's what we have to work with to get your kid to understand, when you do this, this is what you mean by it.
Yep.
Yes, impact over intent. Oh my God, that's one of my favorite sayings. It doesn't matter what you intended. What matters is the impact of it. That happened with a friend, telling me her granddaughter is unhappy and all this stuff. And she's like, what you got to be unhappy for? You fed, you clothed, you get everything you want. Your parents are great to you. I'm like, okay, you just invalidated how she feels though. She said, I'm unhappy. You went on to name all the things that should make her happy, as if that makes people happy. It's people who have the whole world and they're still depressed. So we tend to, a lot of times, older generations for sure, and parents in general feel like kids shouldn't have any problems if they're taken care of, if the basic needs are met. And it's like, yeah, the basic needs are met, but how about, do you spend time with them? Do you talk to them? Do you tell them to, open up to you? You can trust me and it's a safe space and I'm not going to jump down your throat if you say something I don't like or I don't agree with, especially teenagers. Teenagers really struggle to open up because it's like, if I say this, I'm going to get in trouble. If I tell them that I feel this way, or if I tell them I'm thinking about this, I'm going to get in trouble. So I'm always like, listen to kids more across the board. Just listen to them more and you'll learn more.
I feel like that's being turned against them by saying, oh, this is the weakest generation. They're so weak. I see it all the time. And I'm like, expressing your feelings is not a weak thing, but that's what they're associating it to.
Yep. And they always go back to, well, we didn't do that. And we did this and we handled this and we went through this struggle. And it's like, and you not all right. That's why you're messed up right now.
In some ways, not this is the weakest generation, because I think this generation is actually strong. But I do see where sometimes older people can look at us like that because they're like, things still have to get done. So I talked about last week how they were like, I like how people are like, we don't have time to be depressed. Bills still got to get paid. Clothes still got to be washed. Kids still got to be raised. And that's all true. It's all true. But both things can be true at the same time. And that's what I think that we don't realize, is that all those things still do have to get done. But I do still feel a kind of way about things. You can't tell me slaves still had to pick all the cotton and they couldn't be depressed. There was both things happening at the same time. So I think that that's I think we invalidate each other instead of just thinking about it working together as us against them, old school versus new school, which is what we're going to do later on. But so this was a great conversation, and a little bit later on in our episodes, we're going to go into old school versus new school. But in the meantime, what y'all about to do?
All right.
Am I supposed to run that back?
Yeah, I mean,
No.
that's what we're introduced and start.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the reason why I did my depression clip this week.
Episode, Suge, that wasn't this week.
Oh.
And my thing is, we start to take the constructs too far, though. I've heard men say, I don't eat bananas around people because of how that. Are you fucking kidding me? It was a whole debate on the internet saying men who order appetizers might be a little I'm hungry.